How's it going, everybody? It's your boy Shockwave48 here. Welcome back to another video. And today we are back again with a brand new chapter of My Hero Academia. Chapter 409 has officially released, and we are hyped up today. So, without further ado, guys, let's check out this new chapter of My Hero Academia. Let's do this. I'm looking forward to see what's going on.
So we got the 409 spoilers, and this is a really strong chapter as we expected it was going to be. It's essentially the conclusion of Bakugo versus All for One, like we expected it to be. And I just can't wait to see the full chapter released because these spoilers can only do it so much justice. But anyway, coming in from the previous chapter, we were coming off of the ending of All for One's flashback. And once we came to real time, we saw that All for One came to his final gambit, where he's going to try to just blitz through the city to get to Shigaraki, merge their quirk factors, become all powerful, in time before he rewinds himself to nothingness. And in order to do this, he had the genius plan of activating all of his quirks at once to become this one big Tetsuo-esque flesh amalgamation that has all of this energy coming from it that can propel him fast enough to just get there without having to worry about anything else. But our boy Bakugo was there to stop him before he's able to do that. We're going to see what he does coming into this chapter, which begins with Bakugo's birth. We're going into a flashback momentarily, don't worry. Mitsuki, his mom, smiles as she looks at the baby while Masaru, his father, cries. We then see some flashbacks of him, such as him bullying Deku, him saying that he'll get stronger after their second fight, and him saying that his quirk is strong. Back to the present, and Bakugo thinks to himself, Izuku, I won't mess with you anymore. All for One launches his attack, but Bakugo shouts, burst! And an explosion hits All for One, causing him to fall to the ground. But he's confused because Bakugo hasn't moved. So that's kind of cool. Bakugo referring to Deku as Izuku. Very rare. I'm not sure how many times he's done this, but I just like it. I'm on board with the Vegeta domestication of Bakugo in these last couple chapters. Bakugo flies towards All for One and starts explaining. Since the rain affects his quirk, he covered up the explosive sweat drops with normal sweat drop. He then threw those drops into All for One's mouth at the end of chapter 406 and waited for them to explode when he attacked back. So yeah, this is playing off of what Bakugo said with shouts burst and then an explosion hits All for One, causing him to fall, but he hasn't moved. I honestly don't see the moment where this happens in 406, but I guess it's the panel where he's upside down blasting All for One into that building, where he says, the one I loathe above all others. I guess he did it in that instance. It doesn't really matter because he has this new-esque ability to remotely explode the sweat drops regardless of the distance from him, which is cool. It further goes into his quirk evolution or awakening, whatever you want to call it. More of a byproduct of the cluster aspect of explosion. All for One can't believe he's been outsmarted, and Bakugo says that he's always been very clever. He doesn't need a lot of quirks. Explosion is more than enough. And All for One realizes that the explosion has messed with his attack and that he needs to activate it once again. So that's funny. All for One can't believe he's been outsmarted when he's been outsmarting himself this entire series. But I'm also surprised that he's able to just go back into the big meat rocket form. Because surely that would have been enough to revert him back to a baby at this point, but I guess it wasn't. All for One shouts, this is my story, you side character. And what follows is a double spread of Howitzer Impact, a double spread of several explosions in a row, and 2 more pages of explosions while Bakugo shouts, shut up. So this is pretty cool. Howitzer Impact is one of my favorite attacks in this series, and it's unfortunate that we don't really get to see it enough. I think he only does it 2 or 3 times in the series. Maybe twice, to be honest. He does it more so in the movies. But yeah, he's just messing All for One up here with a barrage of explosions, and All for One can barely even mount an offense at this point. He's just blinded by rage, and he's just thinking emotionally, and he's in this big quirk flesh thing.
To battle manga. I know we all love it on this channel, but there's so much more out there, such as web novel. Web novel gives you access to a massive library of awesome novels written by actually good authors from all over the planet. It also has a really practical and intuitive interface that gives you seamless reading experience. Like, it's really easy to immerse myself in these series with web novel. And also, web novel is by far the largest web novel community. Now, that's just the beginning, because they've also got something special for fans of system novels or lit RPGs and progression fantasy. So now you can get the excitement of leveling up, not just in a video game, but in these amazing stories. And of course, the other fun part is unlocking all of these new powers with your favorite characters as they navigate the world. Now, I'm sure you've been eager to see what one of these series are like, and don't worry, I'm gonna go into at least 2 of them, and we're gonna go through these chapters. So the first series that really caught my eye was God Rank Upgrade System. This series has 1,479 chapters and over 4.6 million views. It's essentially about an MC transmigrating into a future where zombies and intelligent beasts exist, and Lin Ju accidentally obtained an upgrade system that surpassed human limits and swallowed the heavens. Chapter 1, Traveling into the Future. Lin Ju was one of many nerds who was unemployed after graduation.
Oh, and also web novel has an awesome feature called paragraph comment, where you can comment on the paragraphs, or you can view what other users have said just by clicking on the number here. You can even post little pictures like right here in the Kokoro. You better take that back. He's not a loser. Unemployed. Impossible. Didn't teachers say that all the smart kids get good jobs? Nerds. As he was in a gloomy mood that day, he played League of Heroes and abused the other party. But when he left the game, a window popped up. Are you tired of reality? Do you want to live? Okay, so saying that right there seems to have sparked a lot of comments, since this has the most. I feel this is so poorly worded. Yes and no, in that order. I destroyed the glorious 69 comments. Send me magic god daddy.
Lin Ju was somewhat
I
speechless.
mean, it's entertaining to
These
look
games
at,
always relied on
but
this sort of
that's a lot of
to
chapters.
attract people's attention. The person who created this pop-up must have read too many novels, eh? Just as Lin Ju was about to close the window, he realized that there wasn't a close button or an option to cancel. There was only a yes button. Lin Ju furrowed his brows and instinctively clicked on the yes button. Right at that moment, the computer flashed. Did he get a virus? Lin Ju was stunned. Just as he was about to do something, there was a loud bang, and his computer exploded in an instant. After an indeterminate amount of time, when Lin Ju opened his eyes again, his surroundings seemed to have changed. Where is this place? He held his head up and sat up. Lin Ju shook his head, and his hazy sight suddenly became clear. This was a dormitory, similar to a 4-people dormitory in university. However, the place looked like it was installed with high-tech stuff, and there was a giant screen on the wall in front of him. At this moment, he felt like there were many pieces of memories appearing in his mind. Time traveled? With the information in his head, Lin Ju didn't know whether to laugh or cry. So, I'm sure you were really getting into that just like I was, but of course I can't read the whole thing. You're gonna have to finish this for yourself, because I'd be here for like 15 minutes, guys. Also, guys, I didn't forget that I said I was gonna go over another series, because now we're gonna be taking a look at the web novel original, reincarnated with the strongest system. The series has 1,475 chapters and over 27 million views. Chapter 1. I'm going ahead first. Don't miss me too much. To the destined person who was lucky enough to find my letter, 752,648,000 heartbeats. That is the number of times my heart pulsed inside my body before I gave it away. I, who had lived a painful yet happy life, had many regrets. And among those regrets was to die a virgin? Don't look at me with those eyes filled with ridicule and contempt, for I am sure that you, yes, you, the one. Thanks, guys.
All for One feels that the quirk factors are not working as they should, and that's not just due to the explosions. And he says to himself, is it because my body has become too small and fragile? That's when we see that All for One is now a child inside the Vestige world too. That's when Hawks' quirks Vestige shows up and says that all that anger.
Wait, Hawks is in the Vestige world? That's crazy.
Control of the Vestiges and quirks. Thanks to this, Hawks was even able to hold a fan meeting, and all the other Vestiges are fanboying and fangirling over him. This is hilarious. So this Vestige world being referenced here is like the Vestige world within All for One. Like there's two different Vestige worlds. There's like the One for All one that we're more familiar with the previous users of One for All, and then there's like a All for One adjacent realm where it doesn't have the vestiges of the previous users because, you know, there's only Shigaraki and All for One himself. It actually has the vestiges of all of the people from the quirks that he's taken. We saw this in his fight against Star and Stripe, and now we're coming back to that world and it's just collapsing. Like he can't maintain control of it anymore, which is like, I guess, a aspect of his quirk, but more so going into like the quirk singularity, I suppose. Like this obviously is like a direct result of that. We even see it happening in real time, like when All for One becomes this big flesh thing. It's for sure like showing us what the quirk singularity is about, becoming essentially too powerful for your body to control it. I mean, that's not, you know, literally what it is, but it's a byproduct of it. It's more so just the world ending from everybody just having way too powerful quirks, you know, through evolution and hereditary means and mixing quirks and future generations and so on and so forth. But as I've talked about for the last couple years now, the All for One and One for All quirks, the way that they work kind of speed run the quirk singularity, like something that would take maybe hundreds or even 1,000 years, and maybe less than that, but they're able to do it much quicker than that because of the way that their quirks work. And we also saw that All for One randomly took Hawks' quirk. I never understood like what was the purpose of that, because he didn't even use it. Like after he took Hawks' quirk, he kind of just used some kind of random propulsion quirk to fly away. But now we're seeing it's for this moment. It's for Hawks' quirk vestige to stifle his plans, I suppose, inside the quirk vestige realm, and to have all of the quirk vestiges rally together. And as he says here, they're not working as they should. Like, they can straight up rebel against him. Like, Star and Stripe's quirk rebelled within the realm and, like, destroyed other quirk vestiges and quirk factors within him. So Hawks is kind of doing, like, a light version of that. Also, this would be, like, a perfect time to bring Star and Stripe back. I mean, I know that she can't. She was just completely vaporized in all senses. But still, I don't know, do something. At the end of the day, Shigaraki led to your downfall, says Hawks while sticking out his tongue. All my comments that the physical and mental damage that everyone caused on All for One is finally paid off. This is our story, shouts Bakugo. So yeah, I also talked about this before, kind of like the butterfly effect, like trickle down damage of everyone that has been fighting against All for One for like the last year and a half, almost 2 years at this point. Maybe like, I don't know, a little less than that, but it's been quite a while. And it seems like it was all for naught and it was just fodder and everyone handing out jobs and whatnot. But no, it all added up. You know, it's kind of like in an MMA fight or a boxing match. Like, you know, one jab doesn't really do much, but after you've jabbed your opponent like 100 times, their face or their eye is just completely closed, and they're pretty much down for the count or ready to be hit with a haymaker or something. And that's basically what has happened to All for One here. All of the small little damage has finally whittled away at him to get to this point of his eventual defeat. You can actually even go back further than that, go back to like 100 years ago when he initially had like his beef with Kudo, the second user of One for All. Like, just that fearless look that he gave to All for One stuck with him so long, it led to his hesitation in his fight against Bakugo because he reminded him of him. The last double spread shows All Might, Mitsuki, Masaru, and Yoichi watching the battle. After his last big explosion, Bakugo says, "I'd never have been able to defeat you all by myself." End of chapter. So, yeah, I guess this is All for One's defeat at the hands of Bakugo and, you know, like we said, everyone else. But he's not dead. I think Bakugo's like blasting him into the ground and it makes like a crater, and that's where the chapter ends. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. But, you know, like I've also said before, this is going to lead to Shigaraki getting the final kill or whatever on All for One. I know I talked about this before, but I'll talk about it again in my chat.
Alright, so I'm actually kind of impressed how Bakugo was able to handle All for One so, you know, aggressively, because it's just, we get so many, you know, thoughts about All For One and what he's about. Why is he doing this, or what's his plan going? We get it, but the fact that he has to go is, I mean, I wouldn't say he's, just like you said, he's not dead. He may be down, but he's not out. So I, for one, predicting that he just might come back. I mean, I'm not for sure if he might, or he might just go after Deku with a sneak attack or something. I'm not for sure, but we already know that he's beaten up. So yeah. So right now we're gonna pretty much go on to the next chapter between Deku and Shigaraki. Hopefully we'll be able to see that because we're on break next year. So yeah, I mean, this chapter was pretty interesting to look at. I mean, Bakugo did his thing. I mean, he did the best he could to stop All For One from against Shigaraki, and I'm actually quite impressed. I actually am. So happy for him. Even though he's kind of beat up, but he can still fight. He can still fight. Yeah. Alright folks, that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next chapter of My Hero Academia. Stay tuned for that. Peace out.